Hey hustlers, welcome back to the show. So today I have a very interesting guest on the show, and his name is Peter Shankman. I've been following his work for the longest time, and I've been using unknowingly some of his services and companies that he's founded, right? So a little bit of an introduction about him, okay? So Peter was always a bit strange in his younger days, but he finally discovered why when he was diagnosed with ADHD, and he has turned it into an advantage rather than see it and mull about it as a disadvantage, right? So Peter started his career at America Online as a senior news editor, and he has helped found the AOL newsroom and spearheaded coverage of the Democratic and Republican 1996 conventions. So those are really that's a big deal, right? But after that, he started a PR firm called The Geek Factory, and he was also the creator of Help a Reporter Out, or HARO in short. And it's a service for journalists which was acquired by Vocus Inc. in 2010. If you don't know what HARO is, it's because you don't know SEO. If you know SEO, you definitely know what Help a Reporter Out is, right? So he's also been a guest speaker at TEDx, South by Southwest Affiliate Summit, the Direct Marketing Association, and a lot of other events. So right now he's a full-time angel investor, guest speaker, keynote speaker, and also an author. He's also a published author, right? So he has written 4 books, I think, on marketing and customer service in particular, but his latest book, Faster Than Normal, is the best yet. So definitely check it out in a bookstore near you, or you can just grab a copy from Amazon. So guys, if you're interested in knowing more about Peter and his journey as an entrepreneur, definitely stay tuned to the end of this episode because it's a really good one.
Hey Peter, glad you could join us today. So why don't we start off with a bit of storytelling? I'm sure you have tons of story to tell based on your experience. What does your younger days look like? How your career turned out, and also your journey into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I was a class A screw up in school. I was massively ADHD before anyone knew what ADHD was. So I spent a lot of time in the principal's office. Somehow graduated by the skin of my teeth, and wound up going to Boston University, and then was in graduate school studying fashion and portrait photography because it was a great way to meet women. And wound up with 18 credits left, wound up losing my financial aid. My government sent me a letter that said, my parents make too much money, they're taking away my financial aid. So I sent a letter back, said they do make too much money, but they keep it. And the government didn't find that funny. So I moved back to New York, and I was hanging out in a chat room on America Online back in the mid-90s when AOL was the internet. And I wound up, someone in that chat room said, my company's trying to hire a newsroom editor, trying to build a newsroom. And 2 weeks later, I had moved down to Virginia, and I was one of the founders of the newsroom at AOL, and launched the newsroom at AOL back when, AOL was everything, and had an amazing experience, and did that about 3 years. Got laid off with 200 other people one morning. 8 a.m. we had a job, 10 a.m. we're in the parking lot going, the fuck was that? And came back and immediately got hired as an editor at a magazine in New York. But a week in, we had to have meetings every morning, and we had to punch in, and there were time cards, and I'm like, this is like Russia, this is bullshit. And I quit. And that was the last job I ever had. And the next, I went out on my own. I went on my own in October of 1998. 2 days ago, it was 21 years ago that I went out on my own, and I've never looked back. I started a PR firm called The Geek Factory. I ran that, sold that 3 years later, consulted for a handful of companies, eventually got very lucky and launched something called Help a Reporter Out. Came up with this idea to connect journalists with sources all around the world. Led to, it just blew up. And it was acquired by a company called Vocus, now Cision, and Cision owns it. They bought it back in 2010. I can't believe it's almost 10 years. And ever since then, I've been consulting. I've been speaking, writing books. Got very into sort of understanding my ADHD and understanding that it's a gift, and all my weirdness and all my craziness and all the shit that gets me in trouble and got me divorced and all that stuff is actually a benefit if you know how to use it. And that's led to some great success. And from that I wrote a book, which I, of course, don't have here. I've written several books. That one was called Faster Than Normal. And it was the premise that ADHD is a gift, not a curse, and that if you know how to use it, it can benefit you. I've written several other books on the customer economy and customer service, customer experience. I do a lot of speaking. I do a lot of consulting. I am a 6-year-old. I am a 6-year-old, I suppose, too. But I have a 6-year-old daughter who I love, and I'm a single dad, which I think is awesome. I'm having a lot of fun with her. I'm a skydiver. I'm an avid cyclist, both outside and on my Peloton bike, which I do every single morning, like clockwork. The gym and the bike are my mental happy places, along with an airplane and under a canopy. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm just really lucky, really blessed.
Right. So so I'm not sure if you remember, but we connected through the service that you founded and so Help a Reporter out.
Okay.
So I'm sure a lot of people...
I sent you in right. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure a lot of people listening to this podcast is interested in how it all started, and how you grew it to where it was, how you got the first journalists on board, the first sources on board, and how you sold it at the end of the day.
So Help a Reporter is one of those things that everyone thinks was a sort of a overnight success. And it kind of was, but it was an overnight success that took about 20 years because
Right.
I talked to everyone, right? To just simply freaking everyone. And if I'm sitting next to you on an airplane, right? Or I meet you in an airport or on a bus or at the gym or whatever, unless you fake your death, I'm pretty much going to know everything about you by the time we land. The thing about ADHD is that we're just incredibly curious, and we're incredibly inquisitive, and we like asking questions, and we like learning. And so most people, when you meet them, they always want to talk, right? They want to tell you about them. I actually just like listening. And the cool thing about that is that no one does it, right? No one listens. Everyone just wants to talk, right? And if they are listening, it's because they're waiting for you to stop talking so they can talk. But
Right.
what you find is that if you just shut up and listen, everyone will tell you their entire fucking life story, right? And you will learn everything about them. And so what started happening over like the course of 20 years is I just got this ridiculously large Rolodex, right? Everyone I talked to, it was great meeting you. I'd put their name in my book and whatever. And then, because I worked in PR and I talked to a lot of reporters, what the hell is on my glasses? Something's on my glasses, drive me crazy. Reporters would call me like every once in a while, they'd be like, "Hey, Peter, I'm doing a story on whatever. Who do you know?" Right? I'd be like, "Oh yeah, call this guy. I met him on a plane last week. Or call this woman. She's," and reporters remember that. And they'd start calling me and they'd be like, "Peter, hey, you helped me out once before. Can you help me out with this other thing I'm doing?" And so I'm totally going to get new glasses. Anyway, long story short, over time, more and more reporters started calling me every day saying, "Hey, can you help me out with this, with that?" And I wound up it started taking up my entire day. So I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I launched this Facebook group, right? I figured I'd put my friends in this Facebook group, and if the reporters called, I just send them the query to the group. Well, we outgrew the group in about 2 weeks, so I moved over to a mailing list, and within a year, we had about 500,000 people, and it was totally free, and everyone was using it, and everyone was getting press. The first thing you do when you get press, you want to share that. Like, "Oh, look, I'm quoted in this magazine. Oh, how'd you get that? Oh, I belong to this free service called Help a Reporter Out." And so within 2 years, we were sending out 3 emails a day to about 750,000 people in email, so about almost over 2 million people a day. Each email had a 79% open rate, which is just obscene. It's like this ridiculous number that I'll never get again. My average open rate on my personal emails now to my mailing list is maybe 35%. And we do that because, the day you didn't read the HARO, there was a reporter calling from the Wall Street Journal and you missed it, right? And so you had to read that email. It was like email crack every single day. And so, we had a small little text ad at the top of the email. Those ads were selling for a ridiculous amount of money. And in just under 3 years, the site was acquired. And it was a game changer for me. And like I said, got very lucky. And the nice thing about it was really helping people, right? It's always been, my thing's always been, how can I help people, right? And the more stuff I do that does benefit people, the more successful I become. I think too many people tend to go into things with the premise of, oh, I want to start this to make a lot of money. Well, no, start something to do some good. The money will, if you're doing something good, the money will usually follow. I'm a big believer in that. And so, yeah, so that's my story.
So let's recap a little bit. Initially, you essentially started out as a one-man HARO.
Yeah.
Right. And, people were looking for you, for sources, and you were just doing what HARO does. And then you started an automated service, and then it grew way out of hand. I would
Pretty much.
I would rephrase that. And then the exit, how did that exit change your life?
Well, I was able to buy an apartment in New York City. That's no small task. So I bought a place. I'm still there now. It's an awesome apartment on the 56th floor. I overlook the entire city. It's great. But I think what it really did was it gave me time to sort of figure out what I want to do and what my next steps are, which, like I said, led to Faster Than Normal, which led to the podcast, led to the book, which led to me to realize that I could do a lot of things that, again, could help people. I find that the majority of people out there, again, they're sort of focused on themselves. And the thing of that is that in the world we live in, and in the world in which we live, people with resources tend to distribute opportunities to people they trust, right? And so you always have these people who are like, I get all these emails all the time, hey, I'm looking for a job, or hey, can you hire it? Yeah. And they're always asking for things, right? They're never actually offering things. And the thing is that the people who are asking for things, I don't necessarily feel great about wanting to work with them if all they're doing is asking. But the people who offer, right, the goal is sort of, you want to put out 10 times the amount of good into the universe for every time you ask for something, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's why I give away like 99.9% of my shit for free. Because, the 0.1% that I'm going to sell is making me more than enough money. But you giving away that stuff and making people understand that you're helpful, people want that. There's not enough people helping in the world. And the more you can help people, the more likely people are going to be to come to you when they want to hire you. A perfect example, I skydive for fun, and a friend of mine, I was at the drop zone a couple months ago, and a friend of mine said, hey, I just started up with this company. They're relatively a startup. Can you, I know you charge a fortune for this, but can I just pick your brain after our next jump? Let's go do a jump. I'll buy you a jump. The jumps are like $25 a piece. And I'll buy you a jump. Let's go have some fun. And then we come down. Can I just talk to you for like 10 minutes? Like, sure, no problem. And she and I wound up grabbing lunch, and I gave her some advice about, that was like 3 months ago. P.S. 1 month after I gave her the advice, they scored a major first round of funding. And the first thing they did was call me and say, hey, we have money now. What are your fees to come in and give us a keynote? We want our entire staff to hear from you, and we want to pay you what you're worth. And I'm like, wow, I'd love to do that. Well, that 40 minutes of letting this woman pick my brain and a lunch equated to like a $25,000 keynote. And so, there's no negative to that, right? Even if I didn't get the keynote, I helped her, which is good. It's good karma. It's good for the universe. It's good to be the good person that helps people. Added bonus, it came back, right? And so I don't think
$25,000.
Right. I don't think enough people do that. I think that, and now I don't think enough people help people just for the sake of helping people. Now, that being said, there's a big difference between helping people and being a pushover. If you want to pick my brain, I will let you do that, but you have to play by my rules. Because I have ADHD, and because I have a very sort of busy life where I have my daughter, and I have to make sure I pick her up from school and drop her to school and things like that, you're not going to say, it's not going to be like, hey, can we meet for coffee on a random Wednesday? And no, because it'll be 30 minutes of me getting ready to go meet you for coffee, 30 minutes to get there, 30 minutes for the coffee, 30 minutes to get back, 30 minutes to get back into my work zone. That's like 3 hours, 3.5, almost 4 hours out of my day. If I only have 6 hours between the time I drop the kid off and the time I pick her up, well, shit, that's my entire day, right? So we're not going to do that. If you want to pick my brain, great. Let's go on a 5 a.m. bike ride. Right? So my rules are very simple. We can meet at 5 a.m. for a bike ride. We can meet at 5 a.m. for a run. We can meet at 5:30 a.m. for a coffee. Or we can meet like at the Peloton studio, take a class, or do something physical. Or you can accompany me in a Lyft to Newark Airport the next time I have to go to the airport, right? But we're not going to just meet for coffee. So that does two things. Number one, that doesn't interrupt my schedule, right? It doesn't say, Because if I'm in the work, if I'm in the zone and I'm working, and there's a reason we're having this meeting today. Today is a day where I'm having meetings. I'm having calls, right? Yesterday was all about sitting in front of the computer and typing. No meetings, no interruptions, right? So if I have a day where I'm having meetings and you want to have coffee with me, great. I'm happy to do that, but we're going to do it at 5 a.m. because that way my day isn't interrupted. And I get up I'm up around 3:30 every morning anyway. But and there's lots of reasons for that. But the other thing is that those rules, those sort of playing by my rules for that eliminates about 97% of the people that tell me they want to get coffee with me, right? Because they don't want to get up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. or they don't want to meet that early. And so right there, that's Darwinism at its finest. If they're telling me that, if by their actions, I'm seeing that they're not, that my help is not valuable enough for them to actually get up super early, well, great. Chances are I probably don't want to work with you to begin with. So you just say this a bunch of time, everyone wins.
I think that's a fantastic, working style. And it's a really good elimination process as well, getting people to play by your rules so that they know what you're worth. So I think that's...
And I'm not being a dick about it because I'm happy to meet you for free and give you all this advice that I charge a lot of money for, but you got to do it on my terms.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk a little bit more about your experience with ADHD. And do you think it's... I don't know much about ADHD personally, but is it due to environment or is it due to genetics?
It's physical. It's a physical condition. So the premise behind ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, is that my brain makes less dopamine, serotonin, and adrenaline than your brain, and because of that, you are able to focus more on something you might not want to do without having to do anything else. You can just say, okay, it's time to focus. Let's focus. It's like how people without kids leave the house. Would you like to leave the house? Yes. Great. Let's leave the house. People with kids leaving the house, it's a 25-minute fucking process. Get your coat on. Where is your coat? I don't know. What happened to your coat? There's a whole process there, right? It's the same thing with ADHD. With ADHD, if I want to focus on something, that takes a lot of preparation to begin with. I have to make sure that I have gotten myself into the right frame of mind and that I'm not going to be distracted. So, most people are in a gorgeous WeWork with glass windows and blah, blah. My office is a cube, like literally no bigger than this desk. It has a door that closes, and I'm surrounded not by other startups and tech people, but by lawyers who don't know what the fuck I do. And that's awesome. They leave me alone. Because of that, I can close the door, come in, and just work, right? So ADHD essentially means that because my brain doesn't produce that many chemicals that it needs to focus, I have to find other ways to get them, okay? Right. So that's why I'm up super early exercising every morning. I was at the gym at 5 a.m. I was on the bike at 4 a.m. and lifting at 5:30 this morning because that is how... that gives you extra dopamine, right? So if your body won't make it on its own, we're going to force it, right? That's why I skydive. You'll never see someone landing after a skydive and being unhappy. They're high as a kite, right? It's like they just mainline cocaine. It's that same, woo! It's that, so I've learned exercise, skydiving, public speaking. I've learned how to give myself the chemicals I need without having to take medication. I have a prescription. I take it occasionally, but primarily it's about learning how to do the things you need to do for yourself to give you that focus and that. So I realized that a lot of the things that I'd been doing all my life that people thought were strange were actually, without realizing I had ADHD, because I wasn't diagnosed until my mid-30s, was me figuring out ways to live my life better, right? So for instance, the getting up early thing, the going to sleep early. I don't drink. I used to, but I'd never have one drink, right? I'd have 6 drinks. And it's not because I was trying to get drunk, but it's because they were fucking there, right? If about 10 minutes ago in that interview, I pulled out a bottle of water and fucking snarfed that thing in 2 seconds flat. Same thing with alcohol, right? Same thing with pizza, right? So you got to understand yourself and understand how your brain works. There are things that you can do that are basically superpowers, but those come at the expense of having to understand other parts of your brain. So for instance, I have 2 sides to my closet and they're labeled. One side says office/travel, and it's a t-shirt like this and jeans and sneakers. And the other side says speaking/TV, and it's a button-down shirt, jacket, jeans, and shoes. And that's it. My sweaters, my vests, my business suits, those all are in my daughter's closet. Because if I had to wake up every morning and have that much choice, oh, wow, I wonder what I should wear today. Oh, my God, I remember that vest. My friend Laura gave me that vest. I wonder how she's doing. I should look her up. It's 3 hours later. I'm naked in the living room on Facebook. I haven't left the house, right? My day is fucked. So I don't let myself get to that point, right? You have to be aware of yourself, and you have to understand yourself and do what works for yourself.
So it sounds like a constant, you're in constant optimization and learning mode about yourself as an ADHD sufferer. I wouldn't call it sufferer.
I would say that. I don't think it's a sufferer. I think it's a gift. But on the same token, there are times when I've gone completely off the rails. The reason I don't drink is, again, not because I'm out there getting drunk every night, but because if I went out tonight and said, okay, you know what? I'm going to have one drink. Well, I wouldn't have one drink. I'd have four. And then I'd come home. I wouldn't be drunk. I wouldn't do anything stupid, right? But I'd come home. I'd go to sleep. The next morning, I wouldn't wake up at 4 a.m. because I'd have been out late, right? And so if I'm not waking up at 4 a.m., then I'm not working out. Well, if I'm not working out, I'm not getting the dopamine. I already have less dopamine in my system because I drank last night. Now I don't have any, right? And I'm like, oh, shit, well, I don't want to work out. What do I need to fix the dopamine? I know, a grilled cheese, right? So now I've ordered 3 grilled cheese. I haven't gone to the gym. By this time, it's like 2 in the afternoon. I'm like, well, fuck it. I had the grill. I've already fucked the day over. Let's get a pizza. Now I've ordered the pizza. Next thing you know, this is a 3-week process, and I've gained 10 pounds, right? I had a trainer once who literally told me that, Peter, a cheat day is not supposed to last 3 weeks. And he's right, right? So, if that's the case, let's not take that first step, right? If that first step of that first drink is going to lead to 3 weeks later and 10 pounds heavier, fuck it. Let's just not take the first. There's a great movie from the 80s called War Games with Matthew Broderick, where it's the computer that's in charge of like nuclear codes, and the computer has to learn that no one can win when you have a nuclear war. And so the last line of the game is the computer learns, and he goes, interesting game, the only winning move is not to play, right? So I don't play. It's just easier. And do I miss it every once in a while? Going out, sure. But I'm so much happier. Like, this person is just so much of a happier person. So
let's talk about smartphones and ADHD. What's your habits like when it comes to smartphones?
So I have the new iPhone. I love it. The thing about it is I don't when I'm working, when I'm like right now, again, I'm on the, I'm doing meetings all day and calls and things like that. And so because of that, I won't, I keep the phone on, but when I'm in a zone where I'm writing or when I'm doing whatever, phone's off. I use an app on my computer called a word processing program called OMM Writer, which shuts off all notifications, right? So the only thing I have in front of me is writing. I put on the headphones, I go to town. So yeah, you got to be real. When I go to sleep, the phone gets shut off, not just silenced, but shut off. Because if I go to the bathroom at 2 a.m, if the phone's just silent, I'm going to look at it. Right. But if it's off, I'm not going to waste that minute and a half to get back on.
Right. Okay. So, even by entrepreneur standards, you probably have one of the strangest career paths. You're a keynote speaker, you're a consultant, you're an author, you run a podcast, you're also an angel investor. So Tell me more about what you do on a day-to-day basis right now.
It varies, man. I mean, and there are days when I'll go to, I'll sit in the office all day and work. Last week I was in Egypt. 2 weeks ago I was in the Maldives. Next week I'm in Wisconsin. So a lot of speaking, but every day is different. I think that's what I love about it. I think that because every day is different, it's much more exciting that way, and a lot more fun. It doesn't get boring.
Right. So you travel a lot as well. So doesn't that fuck up your, circadian rhythm and your sleep?
I never sleep on planes. The key is to stay awake on planes. Because I stay awake on planes, I'm able to sleep when I get wherever I'm going. Mm-hmm. And I wake up the next morning. They did a study. They took a bunch of airline fighter jet pilots, and they kept them up for like 60 hours, 70 hours. And then they gave them a normal 8 hours of sleep, and they woke up and they were totally fine. So your body is really amazing in terms of repairing itself. And so, I'll stay awake. I might be a zombie when I get to Tokyo, but I'll go to sleep And plus, I've gotten a shit ton of work done on the plane. And so I'll go to sleep, and I'll wake up the next morning, go to the gym, and I'm fine.
Nice. I've never tried that. I love sleeping on the plane, and sometimes it messes my body up as well. So let's talk about your latest book and your podcast, Faster Than Normal, a little bit. Can you share a little bit more about what?
Yeah, I mean, the basic premise is that ADHD and any sort of neurodiversity, ADHD, spectrum, autism, executive function disorder, all those things are not the terrible things that everyone says they are. They're not. They can be utilized to be beneficial if you understand how your brain works and you understand how to use sort of that faster brain, as it were, right? And again, a lot of that does take a lot of work. It takes dedication to get up every morning and go to the gym and do those things. But there's a tremendous benefit in it, in that when I can go to when I feel great after a workout, I'm really good. And so I use as many tools as possible. And we talk about this a lot on the podcast. Almost all the guests are very similar in that they always get up early, they always work out, and they always use the tools at their disposal. My lights are automated. At 3:30, they start coming up. 3:30 in the morning in my bedroom, they start coming up. By 4 a.m., they're up. My shades are up. I'm awake, right? It's hard to go to sleep, when your lights are on. I sleep in a pair of workout clothes, workout shorts. The second I wake up, I'm already in the shorts. It's kind of hard not to get on the Peloton bike, which is 6 inches from my bed, if I'm already in the shorts and the lights are on. So, you try to eliminate all those hassles, because if I had to work out at night, I would find a reason every freaking day not to work out at night. Oh, there's a asteroid orbiting Pluto, and it might, I should just skip it just to be safe. I'll figure out a reason, right? So the less you have to think about it and you just do it, the better it is.
Okay. So if there's an entrepreneur, with severe ADHD and he's having trouble focusing, what kind of advice would you give to that person?
You got to shift up your environment. You got to avoid the triggers that cause you to stop focusing. So, again, it's the exercise helps tremendously. And as much dopamine as you can get in your system, the better. Clean up your office. Make sure there's not a lot of stuff hanging around. Make sure there's not a lot of stuff, wherever. Make sure your notifications are off, your phone is off, things like that, and you're focused on the work. And take frequent breaks. Every 50 minutes, 50 minutes, I'll stand up and I'll do 10 push-ups, or I'll get a glass of water, drink a lot of water, make sure you're hydrated, and I'll do those push-ups on a plane all the time when I'm writing. If I have a 14-hour flight to Tokyo, every hour and a half, I'm dropping for 10 push-ups, 20 push-ups, 30 push-ups in the galley, because it keeps me just that little tiny burst of dopamine from those 30 push-ups is enough to get me focused again for the next hour and a half. There's a lot of help in the book. The podcast has tremendous tips and tricks from over 200 entrepreneurs, including Tony Robbins, Seth Godin, Danny Meyer, the band Shinedown, Dave Needleman of JetBlue, Joe DeSena of the Spartan Race. All these people have come on the podcast and talked about the stuff that they do to use their ADHD as a gift. So it is, having ADHD is in my opinion, one of the best things in the world.
Fantastic. So you mentioned about keeping your desk clean, but I can see that
this is a mess. You're right. Well, it's a mess because today is a day where I said I'm taking meetings, and so when I take meetings, because I'm not focused on writing, I also focus on going through all the shit that I accumulated over the week and throwing it out. So This is all the stuff I took in boxes over here, moved it over here. When I hang up with you, I'm going to start tossing it.
Okay.
When I'm working, my desk in front of me is just dead empty.
Right. So looking back, you have tons of experience, as an entrepreneur, as a speaker, as an author yourself. So what were some of the biggest mistakes that you've made, in your earlier years that you wish you hadn't done? Well,
done? I don't wish I hadn't made any mistakes. All the mistakes I made are wonderful because they allow me to learn. Right. Mm-hmm. But I think the biggest mistake I ever made was assuming that other people had the same passion and drive for what I was building as I did. You're never going to find people like that. You'll find people who are close, but you're never going to be able to say, okay, they'll have the same, they'll do the same. It's always going to be on you. And you let people do what they're great at and you back off, but you always have to keep a hand in if you want to keep growing. If you want to stay where you're flatline, that's fine. But if you want to keep growing, you always have to have a hand in what you're doing.
Right. So how do you translate that into, say, managing your team and stuff?
Let your team do what they're great at, but There's a great quote in Arabic that's the translation is roughly trust in Allah but tie your camel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
it's the premise that it's good to trust that Allah will keep your camel there, but just fucking tie it, right? There's no reason not to. So you want to keep an eye on it. Let your guys do what they're great at. My assistant, we didn't book this thing. My assistant did because she doesn't let me. I don't have right access to my calendar. She took it away because I kept screwing it up. Right? I was booking 2 dinners on the same night on separate continents. She's like, "You're done." So she does it, and I understand that she's great at it. So I let her do that, right? And because I let her do that, I don't have to think about it.
Right.
Do what you're great at, and let other people do the rest.
Okay, I think that's fantastic advice. So wonderful. Last question for you, Peter. I'm not gonna keep you for so long. I'm sure you have a lot of exciting things planned out for 2020 and beyond. So what's next for you?
So the whole premise of the customer experience is the fact that I don't need you to be awesome. I need you to suck slightly less than everyone else. And the bar is so low for what we expected. I just need you to be slightly better. So I'm working on some sort of thing where, just improving customer experience by a little bit, right? Improving, just helping. I want to raise the bar across the world where, we don't go in expecting a crap experience. We expect just a little bit better, right? I don't need perfect. I just need a little bit better.
So you're working with companies on this?
I'm working with companies on it, and I'm also working with companies on exploring how to better relate to the neurodiverse audience. So 35% of the workforce in the next 10 years is going to be neurodiverse. So, again, we talked about ADHD. So if you're selling to them or if you're hiring to them, you have to understand what they want, how they want to work, how they want to be approached, and things like that. So I'm working with some big name companies to help them understand that too.
Right.
It's a lot of fun. I'm very lucky.
Are you able to, go into a little bit more detail on?
Well, yeah. The premise that when I walk into a McDonald's, there's 140 items on the menu in front of me. If I'm ADHD, that's a death sentence. That's like, right? But you ever go into In-N-Out Burger? 4 items: hamburger, cheeseburger, fries, shake, done. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the greatest thing in the world. Right? I know exactly what I want. I can get my food. 2 seconds later, I'm out. So I'm helping companies learn to simplify. And helping companies learn to understand that it doesn't have to be everything. We're killing them with too many options, killing the customers too many options. I work with a couple of airlines. Again, I don't need you to be great and give me champagne on every flight. I need you to fucking smile. Basic, stupid shit.
Right. Okay. So, Peter, thank you so much for agreeing to come onto this podcast. It was a pleasure speaking to you. So before we end this episode, is there anything else that you'd like to add on to our audience?
Well, thanks for having me, Jeremy. Definitely. I just want to I'm always available. People can always reach me. I'm at Peter Shankman on all of the socials, every single one of them. You are welcome to reach out anytime. I'm happy to chat, happy to talk. If you're ever in New York, hit me up. We'll go for an early morning bike ride. Whatever. I'm a friendly guy.
Great. Yeah, it sounds like you are. I was a little bit flustered. Okay, I use this service called HARO, and then the founder just sent in a submission, and I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest.
No, I'm happy to do it, man. Let me know when it goes live. I'll help promote it too.
Okay, thank you so much.
So hustlers, what do you think about the episode? Good, huh? Plenty of golden nuggets to learn from, definitely. So I hope this episode has changed the way you think about entrepreneurship, supposed mental disorders. So guys, don't let doctors and other people dictate how you live. Make your life your bitch, okay? I'll see you on the next episode. Bye!